Hello and welcome to the 39th episode of the Red Sox Unfiltered Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Green. Super stoked to be here with you. Joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Dave Latham. Dave, say hello.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to report that the Boston almost 100-day stretch of title-free sports has officially reached its end.
So if you like the Red Sox, you probably like the Patriots, so that's good news for you. If you're like me, however, you don't like the Patriots, so it's not as liberating as it is for some of you. But we're also joined with Chris Drozine. Chris, our wonderful producer, he's here and he's better than ever. Ready for a great show. But yeah, we have a very exciting interview coming up later in the show after we get through this intro banter with SB Nation Over the Monsters Matt Collins, and we have some really good talk with him. He was an awesome interview, learning a little bit about his Over the Monster career, how he got into the business, and then talking about a lot of a great palette of Red Sox topics. I feel like we hit on a lot of notes from prospect stuff to more pertinent spring training narratives. So please stay tuned for that. He was very, very, very awesome to talk to.
I can safely say it's going to be the better part of this episode.
Yeah, because we don't have a lot to talk about.
We are great with the leads.
This is a weird week. It might behoove you to just skip to that part. Just kidding. But yeah, there's been nothing happening. Like, we can't even talk about Drew Pomeranz signing with the Giants or something to that effect. Like, this has been devoid of activity. There hasn't even been any relevant minor league signings. So we are going to try our best to come out with a compelling episode, and because we're so thin on material, we're just going to do some season predictions, and we're going to be using Pacoda, which is a fancy algorithmic projection that Baseball Prospectus sponsors on their site. And we're going to go through, they just came out with their new stuff, I think on February 7th, so that's today. And we'll talk about that. But yeah, and then we'll just see where it goes. The first thing that pops out to me, and I think this is the what everyone kind of looks at projections for. Individual players are obviously compelling, but they want to know what their team is projected for their 2019 season. And the Red Sox are projected for a somewhat underwhelming 90-72 record. Now, in this projection, they are literally 6 games behind the Yankees, who are projected for 96 wins and 66 losses. Tampa Bay is only 4 games behind them at 86 and 76. You got the Cleveland Indians with 96 wins, blowing the Red Sox out of the water. And then you have the Mets at 88 wins. So there's some context for you. I know projections are inherently conservative, and this is a little much, in my opinion, defending World Series champs. Dave, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, first off, they're not going to win 108 games again. Let's just get that notion out of the way. Last year was once-in-a-lifetime dominance. It's not going to be that good again. But 90 wins, that's just insulting. I think the baseline for this team should be 95, assuming no major injuries, because you still have, basically the same team as last year. There's going to be a little bit of regression, but we've spoke about this earlier. I think that, sure, Mookie and JD, they're still going to be great. They won't be as good as they were last year. But Rafael Devers, I think, is going to make a big jump. You can count on having Chris Sale for the second half of the season, which you didn't have last year. There's going to be enough good things coming back onto this team to cancel out the natural regression from some guys having career years. I think 95 to 100 wins is well within the realm of possibility and should be expected.
Yeah, I think that you hit on a lot of key points. 108 wins seems a lot for any super team, any semblance of a super team to achieve, because, just that takes a certain amount of luck, a certain amount of random variation. I know the Red Sox were awesome and had this quintessence about them last year, this little something extra that was magical and kind of palpable, but 108 wins was never, I don't think any Red Sox fan expects them to live to that billing or getting close. 100 wins is definitely a possibility, but 90 seems a little low. And as I've been going through the breakdown of the projections, Obviously, Mookie and JD Martinez are pegged for enormous years, and even the position players are pretty much aligned with what they did. It's the bullpen that I think we're all worried about. That kind of stands out as like where this team is losing a lot of their projected warp, especially because you compare it to teams like a team like the Yankees with that stacked bullpen, and even the Rays, who have obviously a very good bullpen. That's how they managed to win 90 games last year. Their bullpen strategy, and then you look at the Red Sox, and you see a team that is kind of devoid of Craig Kimbrell, and even like getting down lower. So I want to ask you, Dave, which Red Sox reliever you think will, as of now, because I mean things could change. We got a couple weeks left. Craig Kimbrell's still a free agent. There's still some semi-appealing free agent. As of now, on the current Red Sox team, as of February 7th, 2019, which Red Sox reliever do you think is going to have the biggest impact and accumulate the most value?
Most value, I'm going to go with Matt Barnes because he basically was that last year. Kimbrell got the save numbers, but Barnes was, by a few measures, better, by most measures, I actually believe. He's improved every year he's been in the league, and that should continue. He's only, I think, entering his age 29 season. So this is right around the time where players like starting to reach their ceiling on average. I expect Barnes to continue to be a really good pitcher. He'll walk more guys than you want, but that's kind of what you get with Matt Barnes. But I think he can be a serviceable closer if they go that route, or he can be an elite setup man if we bring back Kimbrell or something like that.
Yeah, good point. Matt Barnes, he walks a lot of guys. He actually walked more guys last year than any of his previous full seasons. He had 4.52 walks per nine, but I think you would trade that because his strikeout per nine rose like 4 points. It rose from 10.72 in 2017 to 14.01 in 2018. So that's a significant jump. His results obviously were very palatable. He had that 3.65 ERA and the 2.71 FIP. So the underlying numbers there are spectacular. He did get hurt a little bit at the end there, and it kind of seemed like it messed with his overall performance because there was a stretch in the dog days of summer where he looked like he was our Craig Kimbrell.
He went like I think a month straight without allowing a run.
Yeah, I mean the dude was impressive. Like I mean, Joe Kelly didn't allow a run in April or something, where he had a very low ERA, and then Matt Barnes took over in the summer, passed the baton on. But yeah, I think Pacoda definitely agrees with you. That projects Matt Barnes for a sterling 2.50 ERA, which as I'm reading that sounds I'm not very bullish on him.
I am not that high on him. I hope I'm wrong, but boy,
I do too.
If Matt Barnes is that good, boy, we really don't need another fit. We don't need a closer.
See, I bet you Dave Dombrowski's seeing a similar thing in their own projection systems and their own analytics, and maybe they're like, you know what, we have Craig Kimbrell, and his name's Matt Barnes.
I could see that.
A 1.3 WARP too.
I do want to add to that, like, people are freaking out about the bullpen, and justly so. There's not much depth to it right now, but there are some interesting players in there. Barnes, we just talked about, he's been really good, and if he keeps it up, he's going to be, fantastic. And apparently some projection systems are even higher on him than I am. But there's him. I think Ryan Brazier is the real deal. I think if you go set 8 and 9 Brazier Barnes, that can get the job done, especially with our starting rotation. A lot of those guys can go deep into games. And they're not quite ready yet, but you have Feltman in Double-A. You have Hernandez. If you say, you know what, Darwinson, you're not going to be a starter, just go to the bullpen. There's two guys that can eat early innings for you. Feltman is probably ready to be the 7th inning guy right now, but they're not going to do that because he needs to pitch at least a few months in the minors. So, I mean, there's definitely a few interesting pieces. Travis Sling is another one. It's not as terrible as it looks, although it definitely has room for improvement.
Yeah, and especially if the Red Sox get some healthy version of Stephen Wright, I feel like he kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit.
Yeah. I'm not counting on Stephen Wright for anything. If he's there, that's a nice bonus.
Don't count on a knuckleball.
Stephen Wright for closer.
Tyler Thornburg for closer.
It's a thought. Yeah, it's not a great thought, but a thought nonetheless.
That's what I'm saying. It's a thought
Play
nonetheless.
for.
And I mean, obviously, Marcus Walden projected to get 30 innings is
Oh,
not a good
Jesus
sign.
Christ.
But you also, I'm looking at Ryan Brazier, and I feel like that's the guy that outside of Matt Barnes that a lot of Red Sox fans and pundits are looking at as this person who has the potential to be a quality setup guy and to be a late innings guy that can serve as somewhat of a replacement to Craig Kimbrell. I think people are a lot more confident. Frazier came out of nowhere, burst onto the scene, and he did very well last year to his credit. But I want to know how trustworthy you feel about Ryan Brazier as a potential setup man in 2019.
So I've definitely been on the Brazier bandwagon almost since it started. Last year, as we were heading into the postseason, I said I was confident in the Red Sox bullpen, which wasn't a popular opinion at the time. And a big reason for that was because of Ryan Brazier. The dude's got fantastic stuff, and he did come out of nowhere. But this isn't a case of some guy getting hot for a month or two. This is a guy who has fantastic stuff, and I'm just wondering how the league missed him for this long. I think he's a fantastic pitcher. I think he can be a really good setup man. So you'd like to have a bit. If you brought in one more decent arm, like if you brought in David Robertson a few months back, I wouldn't have any worries at all about this bullpen. It's not a lack of confidence in Barnes and Brazier. It's a lack of confidence in everyone else.
Good point. My thoughts, I don't know if you know this, my thoughts on Brazier are still a little wait and see in terms of how he develops. He obviously put together a great 33 inning stretch, but the underlying numbers can be cause for concern. The dude throws gas. I'm not going to deny that, but he had a 7.75 K per nine, which is about average, and then a 1.87 walks per nine, which is about average. His home run rate was unsustainably low, and that translated to 378 xFIP. He doesn't elicit a lot of ground balls, so I mean, there's a nice profile there, but there's also a lot of room for regression, and that's why Pacoda only projects him to accumulate a .4 WARP, which, for reference, is the same amount they project Colton Brewer to accrue in like half the innings. So Ryan Brazier, I'm still not sold that he can be the guy that a lot of people are starting to think he is. I think there's a good basis right there, but I mean, I feel like some of those home run balls are going to start to catch up to him, and he kind of will regress a little bit. I mean, his BABIP was 198. Like, we need to talk about that. An average BABIP for relievers like was 198 last year. That is unsustainable times a million. So yeah, Brazier I could see regressing hard, which kind of adds and accumulates the Red Sox bullpen woes. Further, I do think. Oh, you're gonna chime in.
My Ryan Brazier is that I like his attitude more so than anything else. I mean, he was basically, what was it, Gary Sanchez in the playoffs where he's telling him get back in the box.
Get in the effing box.
Yeah, so I think that kind of attitude you need in a bullpen.
Yeah, like he definitely has the mentality, because if you look at most pitchers around the leagues, you need to be a bit of a sociopath in order to make it work. And Brazier, he showed me he's nuts enough. He's got the balls to go out and get outs in big moments. That doesn't necessarily show up on a spreadsheet or whatever, but you really do. Having the attitude does make a difference. I do believe in that.
Let me ask you. Let's move here on for a second. Let me ask you a fun question. Who do you think is projected for the third most WARP, which is just WAR? Or no, I don't want to reduce it as WAR, but it's essentially WAR. Wins above replacement. Pacoda's or Baseball Projector's version of it. Who do you think is the third highest position player in terms of WARP projected for 2019?
League-wide or on the Red Sox?
On the Red Sox, because I think it's pretty obvious that's going to be Betts and Martinez. But after that, who do you think it is?
Position player? Give me Xander Bogaerts. No, Benintendi. Benintendi, final answer.
See, I thought Bogaerts, and I'm surprised that Bogaerts is projected for 2.4. And Devers 2.2. But yeah, Benintendi, you were right. He was 3.4. But Bogaerts was incredible last year. I think they're prophesizing a significant drop in slugging percentage. He is projected for 442 slugging percentage. Obviously, he got over 500 last year. So that is a stark drop, and he was at 522 exactly slugging percentage in 2019, which for a shortstop especially is incredible. But why do you think Pacoda sees him dropping as profusely as they do? I mean, they haven't projected to fall like 80 points in slugging.
Yeah, so I do believe Bogarts will regress. I never meant, like, I always say I think Mookie and JD are going to come down to earth a little bit. Bogarts is another one. I think last year was something of a career year for him because not only did he, start the year out hot, which he did, but he stayed healthy the entire time, like throughout the entirety of the season, which for Bogarts is, kind of a rare event. He usually has a power dip in the second half, whether it's injury or fatigue or whatever. I do think that he is going to drop, but I don't think it's as much as they're projecting. I think Bogarts is, with Alex Cora, he's focused more on the launch angle, putting the ball in the air. I think there's a pretty natural rise due to that. And really the big question for me comes down to, can Xander Bogaerts stay healthy in the second half again? That's my big question for him.
I think that's a lot of people's concerns with him, and he proved to be healthy last year, which is awesome. But honestly, I think that it was a lot of signal and not a lot of noise about what he did last year. As you alluded to the goal, it was 12.7 degrees, which was way up in 2017, which was 8.2. His average exit velocity was 90.5, so he wasn't getting lucky. He was barreling 9.8% of balls. And meanwhile, his expected WOBA was basically the same as his WOBA. I think he's going to decline a little bit in the power department, but I don't think it's going to be stark. He was hitting the ball hard. Like, when he made contact, and he obviously made contact a lot, like, he was reaping the results that he should have based on quality of contact. So I'm bullish on Bogarts to staying around where he was, and I think 2.4 WARP is underselling his contribution, especially touting him for a 442 slug, and I get it. His highest slugging percentage before that was 446 in 2016, but this guy's a new player, a new hitter, and I think we're going to see a lot of good out of Bogarts.
I hope so, but I do think that, I think 2018 was a career year for Bogarts. I don't think he's going to necessarily be that good again. I get that, it was a totally legit results. He wasn't getting lucky with batted balls or anything, but I think just it was a year where everything went right for him from at the plate standpoint. I think it's going to be tough for him to be naturally that good again.
Yes, no, I mean I agree with that. I think the power is going to fall, as I said, but I still think Bogarts is not going to be a 440 slugging percentage. I think you can expect close to 480. That's just my opinion. But another
Benny's going to be better, though. I stand by that.
And in terms, are we talking about raw WAR?
As a player, Benintendi's going to be better than Bogarts.
So if we're using WAR as a barometer of who's better, I'm going to take Bogarts.
All right, it's a bet.
It's a bet? Oh my gosh, what are we betting? What are we wagering
on? If at the end of the season, if injuries come into play, if someone misses 2 months, bets off. But
it's moot. Yeah.
Okay. You have to buy a Tom Brady jersey if it's Benny, and I have to buy a Sam Darnold one if it's Bogey.
Oh gosh. Okay, I'm fine with it.
It doesn't have to be a legit NFL shop line. It can be a shitty T-shirt, but
like a shirt C. Okay. No, I'm down for this. I mean, I'm the guy who said if Jackie Bradley Jr.'s OPS got over 700 at the end of the year, I'd buy a jersey. And you know what?
And you weren't even betting anyone. You were betting the universe.
I was betting the universe, and by God, it happened. And I knew it was going to happen. So it's just a convenient excuse to get a JPJ jersey. Yeah. You want to hear something devastating though?
What's up?
Mookie Betts jersey. I have a Mookie Betts jersey. I mean, why wouldn't I? I'm a Red Sox fan. And I washed my pen in one of my pants pockets.
Oh,
put it in the dryer. And it is and it's a red jersey too. So I can't bleach it. There are just blue ink blotted stains all over it. And it costs $100. I'm pretty devastated about it, but
just say it's a combo of the blue and the red jerseys we wear. You're that way, regardless of what we're going out in, unless we're going out in the whites, you've got it covered.
That's true. I'll say just a polka dotted Mookie Betts themed jersey.
2 for the price of 1.
2 for the price of 1. Yeah, so that's my life right now. It got on all of my clothes in general, but that was the biggest casualty, I'd say.
Moral of the story: don't wash your clothes.
Yeah, moral of the story: don't wash your clothes. Good lesson to be extracted from that. Mitch Moreland, Steve Pearce. This is another compelling argument. I have Mitch Moreland projected for basically like 104 DRC plus, which let's just say that's WRC plus. I feel like more people know what that is. So basically, he's projected to be a 4% above the average major league hitter. Meanwhile, Steve Pearce is 106 DRC plus, so he's 6% above average hitter. And Moreland's projected to get about 70 more plate appearances, according to Pacoda. Who do you think's going to end up the better hitter, Moreland or Pearce?
I'm definitely going to go Pearce on this one. I think by now we know what the story with Mitch Moreland is. He's going to come out of the gate firing. He's going to be phenomenal. Everyone's going to say, oh my God, this dude's legit. And then he's going to collapse in the second half like he always does. Moreland is a very good fielder. He's a great platoon guy. But I think he's going to get a lot more playing time than he should. I think it's going to be primarily Moreland with a bit of Pearson. In reality, I think a better solution would be like maybe 60-40 in Pierce's favor, but I don't see that happening.
If I was managing the Red Sox, it would probably be 90-10 Pearce.
If you were managing the Red Sox, you'd find a way to get Pearce to play like every position and bat 1 through 9.
Hey, Jackie Bradley Jr. would get at least 4 for it.
Okay, fine. Jackie can hit a cleanup.
But yeah, no, I mean, Steve Pearce, like we kind of gloss over the peripheral skills like defensive base running when having these conversations. I mean, I asked you directly about an offensive question, so it makes sense. But even in that regard, I mean, Moreland's like touted as a Gold Glove, caliber first baseman. But Steve Pearce and Mitch Moreland, their defensive metrics last year essentially the same. Like even over the past 3 years, essentially the same. Base running, essentially the same. And Pearce is a much better hitter. And I will say that with conviction. Pearce is a much better hitter. He's the same against righties, and everyone thinks Moreland's their righty hero, and Pearce can't hit righties. He's only a lefty hitter. No, Pearce smashes against lefties, but he can hold his own against righties just as well as Mitch Moreland. Pearce should be playing 90% of the time. And that's how I feel.
90's a bit much, but yeah, 60 or 70 would make me happy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if you just do preliminary research into the guy's statistics, like over their career and even more recently, it's not even a question about who is the better player and who projects to be better.
Should make everyone happy. Put Moreland at first, Pearce in right field, and just bench whoever the right fielder normally is.
Oh, yeah, that would totally work out very well.
Yeah, I can't think of a single person who would have a problem with that idea.
No. I mean, yeah.
Now get real freaky with it. Put Mookie at second.
Oh, no, I'm actually I guess I'm on board. I don't know.
No, you're not. You're not on board.
I saw Mookie Betts before he was Mookie Betts in Greenville. And he played some second base. And this is when he obviously was playing second base, and the dude could field. Like, that's what I extracted when I was
he can do everything. I'm not denying that. And he could be a Gold Glove second baseman, but keep him in right field matters more than second.
Does it?
I mean, I think so. Obviously middle infielders are important, but second base is highly overrated.
I would think second base is the more valuable position. Maybe not in Fenway, but
in Fenway, you got to factor in Fenway.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was thinking.
The outfield is such a nightmare, playing that part of it.
Yeah, but on a neutral field, I would think the second base is a little bit more valuable, defensively speaking.
You can afford to live with a bad defensive second baseman.
I mean, people who watch Eduardo Nunez for parts of the year at second base may disagree. I mean, we won the World Series, so who the hell cares?
Watch Brock Holt and Zui Lin, then. They can do a fine enough job.
Oh, yeah, but they're pretty good defenders. I mean, Holt's okay, and Zui Lin is, my gosh, he's perfect.
Yeah. I love Lin's sanity.
I love Lin's sanity. He's fun.
Let's move on to him. Let's talk about him.
I have to scroll up here. He's projected for... let's see, plate appearances. 31 plate appearances at second base. So he's like a little bit of everywhere. And then 61 at shortstop. And then nowhere else. He's projected for a total WARP of negative 0.2. So.
No. Oh, no.
Yeah. I now know that that clearly Pacoda is just throwing darts.
It's trash.
Blindfolded.
It's trash.
They don't know what they're doing. If you're gonna give Zooey Lin a -0.2, why? Well, we should just erase this whole episode. At this
unadulterated crap. Let's just
Yeah.
shut down the website. The fact we'd ever
Let's just shut down
entertain
the
this
website.
notion.
This is ridiculous. I mean, the
It's
thing
over.
was,
It's over.
Yeah,
Go,
I mean,
go
he had a-
listen
he had
to
a po-
Sox. Go listen to Sox Spear or something. We're done.
Dave, this is gonna hurt me to tell you, but Joe Zooey Lin was worth 0 WAR last year in 73 plate appearances.
Well, 73 plate appearances, duh. But no, the dude's got skill. Okay, Zhu Weilin. I love me some Brock Holt, but this is the last year of the Brock Holt experience. Zhu Weilin's taken over that role in 2020.
He's only 24, and I find that fascinating because I feel like he's been on the in the purview for quite some time, but he's very young still. But I'm not banking on Zhu Weilin for much, to be honest. He's nice.
I like Zhu Weilin.
I like Zooey Lin in seriousness, but I wouldn't trust him to be an everyday second baseman. Maybe a bench player.
No! Don't take that out of what I'm saying here. I think he can be a nice utility guy. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's where he tops out. I don't think we're ever going to get a regular kind of starting role. But okay, we're going to move to the rotation here because it's been very position player centric, and I like to be diverse. Chris Sale obviously is going to be the best pitcher, but all the next 4 starters, we have David Price, Pagoda-wise, projected with a 3.92 ERA, 1.9 WARP. Rick Porcello, 3.88 ERA, 2.1 WARP. Nathan Eovaldi, 4.07 ERA, 1.5 WARP. And Eduardo Rodriguez, 3.71 ERA, 1.8 WARP. Who's the most valuable? Who's going to be the most valuable in 2019?
I think it's going to go Price, Eovaldi, Porcello, Erod. Obviously all behind Sale because Chris Sale.
You said, okay, Price, Porcello, Eovaldi, Erod?
Swap Eovaldi and Porcello.
Okay. I mean, the thing is, Porcello inherently gets more value because he just pitches so many innings. And
I'm high on Eovaldi though.
I like Eovaldi.
Very much, very so high on Eovaldi because everyone says, well, look at his career numbers. He's not as good as he was with the Red Sox, and that is a dirty lie because before Eovaldi, before 2018, he never used a cutter. He started that with the Rays, and he just became an entirely different pitcher. It's his best pitch, and it's not going anywhere. And to anyone that says, oh, well, his postseason run was aided by batted ball luck, you're right, it was. He shouldn't have been as good as he was. But his regular season, where he was still good, he was getting unlucky with batted balls. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think his FIP in FIP in the regular season was 2.71, and in the postseason, it was 2.69 or something like that. He was basically the same guy. So I don't see why that's going to change in 2019.
Oh, hey, Dave, completely agree with you. I am a huge Nathan Eovaldi advocate. I think if we're talking about especially pure ceiling, I think Eovaldi has the highest potential maybe out of all 4 of them. That might be controversial because David Price obviously can top out, and we've seen it before. But I would rank it Price, Porcello, Eovaldi, Rodriguez. Be a little conservative because I know Rick Porcello is going to toss 200 innings.
He's a safer floor.
Yeah, he's a safer floor, and I'm going to be like the projections. I'm going to be conservative and say Porcello will probably accrue more value, just especially WAR. Speaking of WAR, so that's where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Poor Eddie though, coming in last.
Yeah, I think. Gosh, Eddie, if he could stay healthy.
If he could stay healthy and pitch more than 5.2 innings every game, he'd be. He has the stuff to really be something, but can he actually put it together? Because if he can, we have the best rotation, maybe not the best, but one of the best rotations in baseball, 1 to 5.
I feel like 6 innings is like an Eduardo Rodriguez litmus test. If he's getting past 6 innings, then he's going to be an all-star. But he never
because it's
does.
all of the basic stare you in the face numbers tell you Eduardo Rodriguez is a really good pitcher, and I'd agree with them. It's just then you look at the innings count, and it's always 5.1, 5.2, 4.2, 6, 5.1, and it's just just go a little bit farther in the game, Eddie. You're almost there.
Yeah, it was very frustrating, especially in the beginning of the year. He was up there with our best pitcher. I think there was a point when we were talking about him in the number 2 conversation for the Red Sox.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris Sale was unparalleled, but like he was doing better than Price for a while there, and better than Porcello and better than Drew Pomeranz, but that's a really low bar.
Oh, Drew. Yeah, we had to make a Drew Pomeranz resolution, but yes, I think Eduardo Rodriguez is going to be good on a by rate basis, like he usually is, and he's improving his stuff. His like strikeouts per nine has been improving every single year. We walked less people last year. He gave up less home runs in 2017. Like everything under the surface is looking good.
Yeah, and if you really want to like talk about like the injury woes, like 2016, 2017, it was a knee thing, and that's like sort of it has the ability to come back. But in 2018, what got him was a freak collision at first base. That's not a repeatable circumstance. That's not something that says, well, every year around July, Eduardo Rodriguez is going to get pile drived by a guy going to first. Like, that was a fluke play by Swihart making a bad throw because he shouldn't have been at first base to begin with. If it weren't for that, maybe he stays healthy a whole season and he finally, crosses the 140 inning mark or whatever it is he seemingly never reaches.
So 140, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember, like, after he came back from the injury, how, like, tepid he was to actually run to first base?
Yeah, you could see he was...
I wonder
it wasn't
if that carries
quite
over.
right.
No, it wasn't quite right. I think it was fear, honestly.
I think it was fear. I think it was definitely a little bit of nerves. But, like, I don't know. Watching what he did in the World Series makes me feel pretty confident. You look at the final stat line, and it was 5 innings, 4 runs, so not great. But, 3 of those 4 runs came in the 5th inning, and Eddie hadn't thrown, like, more than 20 pitches in one going in over a month. And Cora decided that he could get near 100 pitches, which I don't know why that was a thing, but it was. So it was a really good start by Eddie. It was encouraging. And, I think with a full offseason to, like, get his body into shape, get over the collision, I'm expecting great things. He's already down at spring training practicing with Vasquez, so I really do hope that Eddie can finally, like, put it together and play up to his ceiling, because his ceiling is just as good as anyone outside of Sales on the roster.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And Nathan Voldy, in my mind, I think they're comparable. But yeah, that's going to do it for our projection frenzy. I mean, that was fun. We had a good time doing that. Do you have a departing thought before we get into this interview?
Departing thoughts. Red Sox organization, if you're listening to me, don't make Darwinzon Hernandez a reliever quite yet. Let him still try to start.
Yeah, retweet on what Dave said. But yes, also coming up on after I speak these next few sentences, you're going to listen to a very, very fun conversation with Matt Collins of Over the Monster. So please stick around to listen to that. Yeah, guys, thanks for listening and enjoy the interview. Hello and welcome, guys. We are joined with SB Nation's Over the Monsters, Matt Collins. Matt, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How you guys doing?
We're doing great. We're excited to talk some Red Sox baseball with you, still in the thick of the off season. Well, actually, we're coming out towards the end of the off season and into spring training here, so it's a good time to have you on. There's some good, juicy stuff to talk about. But before we get to that, I do want to ask you about your career. Obviously, you've been writing for Over the Monster for some time, SB Nation, and I want to know how you actually got into sports writing, and particularly how you found your way to Over the Monster.
It's not really anything super interesting, I guess. I don't know. I thought I wanted to be a sports writer when I was in high school, and then I kind of talked to some people, and they were like, yeah, everybody says that, and I kind of just forgot about it. And then in college, I kind of got introduced to the online sports blog scene, figured I might be able to do that. And then sophomore year of college, I just started doing it. I didn't tell anyone I was doing it because I wanted to see if I could make it without people that knew that I was doing it just telling me I was good. I figured if anybody's going to be honest, it's going to be strangers on the internet. So I thought I'd do it for a few months and quit. And then, but eventually, there used to be a site is affiliated with ESPN in some way. Firebrand of the American League. Pretty sure they don't exist anymore, but they were pretty big back when I started. They gave me a couple breaks. It kind of got me out there a little bit. A couple of years went by, and Mark Normandin, who used to run OTM, asked me to start writing for them, and I did. I wrote for them for a few years, and then Mark left, and Ben Buchanan, who was the co-manager, left shortly after him, and I was fortunate enough to take over, and it's been a couple of years now, and like I said, when I started, I thought it was going to last like 3 months, so it's been 8 years now.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're a veteran.
Yeah, I started right before the 2011 season.
Okay. So you've been in this blog game for a while.
Yes. It doesn't really feel like that long until when I interviewed for OTM, the guy read my resume and said I've been doing it for like 6 years or something. I was like, that can't be right. And I looked at my resume.
Oh wow. So you got like a decade and a half worth of blogging experience. Sports blogging experience.
Not a decade and a half.
Almost a decade. Okay. So I know that Over the Monster is a very comprehensive Red Sox site. It's personally one of my favorites. You guys do a great job of combining analytics with good old-fashioned commentary. But I was wondering if you guys do you guys cover games in person, or are you guys kind of more behind the scenes? How does that work?
No, I've never gotten a press pass. I haven't offered them before. To be honest, it's not really something I'm super interested in.
Okay.
First of all, I don't live in Boston. I live in Portland, Maine. So just getting to Fenway is kind of a pain.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know. I don't really like the idea. Like, I used to think about going, because I go to Sea Dogs games all the time, obviously. I live like 5 minutes away. But I used to think about getting press passes just so I wouldn't have to pay. But I figure if I'm going to a baseball game, I want to enjoy it. I want to like have a beer or something. So.
Yeah, you want to get the beer, you want to get the hot dog. I totally get that.
Yeah.
It's
not something I've ever really wanted to do.
No, that makes sense. So now we'll just jump into some Red Sox questions here. Dave, you want to fire them off?
All right. So, Matt, obviously spring training is right around the corner, and the Red Sox have basically decided to just go in with the same team again as it is right now. Do you anticipate another signing happening between now and the start of spring training when it really picks up?
I still kind of feel like they're going to get Kimbrel back. If it's not Kimbrel, I don't think it's going to be anybody. At least, I mean, they'll sign more minor league deals, but nothing major. But I don't know. This Kimbrel thing just seems a lot like JD Martinez last year, where kind of seeing who's going to blink first. And the Phillies just got Real Muto, so they're kind of going all in. Maybe they might up their offer to Kimbrel and finish that off. But if not, I still have a feeling they're getting Kimbrel.
The Phillies could theoretically get David Robertson, Craig Kimbrel, and Sir Anthony Dominguez. That just doesn't seem fair.
Well, I mean, look at the Yankees.
Yeah, that's a good point. Never mind. Good counter. I'll withdraw.
So if it is the Red Sox getting Kimbrel, how long do you think the deal's going to be? Is it going to be the long-term thing Kimbrel wants, like 3-4 years, or do you think it's going to be like a 1-year deal and then Kimbrel hits the market again?
I kind of still think it's going to be 3. I could see like a 2-year deal where Kimbrel can opt out after the first year to kind of save a little face. But I don't know. I wouldn't really be surprised at anything at this point. I mean, maybe he'll just take a 1-year deal and say, I'm going to dominate this year, and then I won't have a qualifying offer next year to hurt my value. But this whole offseason is crazy. I really don't know how to judge contracts anymore.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like, I thought last year was kind of like a 1-year kind of fluke aberration because the free agent class by and large wasn't anything special. But this year was supposed to be like, they've been talking about it for years and nothing's happened. So it is weird, definitely.
Well, that's kind of how it always goes. And it's not even just baseball. You see it in like NBA drafts and NFL drafts where you always hype up the classes that are coming. And then when it finally shows up, you start hearing about the next classes. Like, we're already hearing about the Betts and Trout class. We're hearing about Arenado next year. It's like you have Bryce Harper and Manny Machado sitting right there, 26-year-old superstars. I don't know why we're looking ahead.
Good point. So with Craig Kimbrel obviously dominating the Red Sox discourse this offseason, I think we have literally talked about it on every podcast. We can't escape it, but I want to know, like, do you think it would be, obviously relative to contract terms, but you think it's in the Red Sox best interest theoretically if they signed him to a 3-year, let's say $20 million per year deal, or close to that 15 mil?
Yeah, I think they should do it. Well, I guess I should say if I was running the Red Sox, I would do it. But if it's going to stop them from signing guys like Betts and Sale and Bogarts and Martinez when the time comes, then no, they shouldn't do it. But that would mean that they're super worried about the luxury tax, which I don't think they should be for a whole myriad of reasons. But yeah, I mean, I think they have their chips in right now. You pay the luxury tax now, you pay the penalties now, and then you deal with tomorrow when that comes. Especially the CBA is running out in a couple of years, and everything's supposed to change. We have no idea what baseball is going to look like in a couple of years.
That's a good point.
Yeah, Matt, I read one of the articles you wrote. It was maybe a month or two back. It was basically you arguing why the Red Sox should just kind of go all in, throw caution to the wind and like kind of eschew the luxury tax. Before I read that, I was very much on the no roll bandwagon just because he's going to cost a lot of money and we've got a lot of guys we need to pay. But you really brought up a good point, I felt, in terms of the Red Sox can afford this. It's only money. And relative to the rest of the leagues, the major sports, there basically isn't a penalty for going over it. Like, I think we spent $12.5 million in luxury tax fines, which is pocket change for the Red Sox.
It's what they're paying Rusney Castillo is what they paid in the luxury tax. It's nothing. And they move 10 spots back in the draft. But I mean, when you're picking like in the last 5, you're talking about there's not a big talent difference in the. It's like between $400,000 and $500,000. It's not nothing, but when you're all in, you're trying to win right now. Yeah, you don't let that stand in the way of a championship.
Yeah. So do you see the luxury tax as more of this symbolic thing that teams are trying to get under then? Because I mean, like obviously the Red Sox. Yeah. Okay. Because the Red Sox are way over.
Yeah, ownerships have like totally dominated the narrative of what the luxury tax is, and I mean, people are buying into it and they're convincing. I mean, there's a good example is if you even like beat writers keep bringing up this international money that teams lose when they go over the luxury tax, which doesn't exist. But it's just, I don't know where it came from, but everybody thinks that they lose international money for going over the luxury tax. And it's very strange to me that everybody thinks that.
Yeah, I have heard that before, and I never really challenged it. I
blindly accepted it as fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I don't want to throw out any names, but a few big Red Sox guys started doing it, and then I was like, I kept going back to the rule book and like going to MLB.com, and I couldn't see anything, and I was like, am I going insane? And wrote, like, no, it's just the draft pick. But still, I mean, anything about that.
Yeah. Okay. Along the lines of something with your work, I was reading your article, I think it was today, about Rafael Devers, and you had a profile on him on Over the Monster, and you posed the question, can Rafael Devers become a more disciplined hitter? And in the article, you stated that he is probably the guy you're most excited to watch in 2019. Could you explain why to me?
He's like the only unfinished product, I guess. We've had these waves of prospects, the Bogarts, the Betts, the Bradleys, the Eduardo Rodriguez, Swihart worked out. Devers is kind of the last one for a little while, and he's not there yet. But this is a legitimate superstar talent who hasn't quite made it yet. And I've been watching sports my whole life, and the things I remember the most beyond like just championship seasons is watching stars grow from the beginning of their career.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it definitely will be, but this feels like it could be the year that we see Devers step into the spotlight and be like, oh yeah, that's the guy we were waiting for.
Do you have any statistical evidence that kind of points you in the direction that like he took a leap towards that direction in 2018?
Not really. And I don't even know that he's going to make the leap this year. He's 22 I think.
Very young.
22, yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it takes him another year or two. But, I mean, I just think, I mean, we've all seen it. It's more of like an eye test kind of thing, to be honest. It's like you see him go through these flashes where he is that guy. Obviously, we all remember that home run off Chapman. And, I mean, it's just little things like that. It's like, no, it's in there. It's just a matter of staying disciplined. Yeah, with the plate discipline, but even to like just in general, it's like kind of not letting the moment get to you. And I mean, that's hard to overcome. It's a lot easier said than done.
Or you can get Chipotle gift cards as an incentive. That's it. That
He's
seems to
getting
work.
healthy this year. I don't know if he'll be getting any Chipotle gift cards. He's trying
Okay.
Yeah.
You like
Yeah,
the Jamba Juice.
Matt, you mentioned you lived in Portland. I actually used to live right across the street from the Sea Dogs back when Devers was down there. I fell in love with him from day one. Like, the first game I saw him at, he, like, launched one of the hardest doubles I've ever seen that I'm surprised didn't put a hole in the right field fence, and he launched a homer the same day. And I'm like, oh, my God, this kid is legit. Saw him a few more times at Portland. So I'm definitely with you. I think that he's got an incredibly bright future ahead of him. I'm very high on him. I think he can be the second best bat in this lineup behind Mookie. But I really expect, that's a fairly hot take for me.
That's wild.
Over
I mean,
JD
maybe not
Martinez,
this year. Not this year, but 2020. If JD's still here, I think so.
Wow.
Like,
right.
I think his ceiling as a hitter is higher than JD's. Is not in 2019. Should have clarified that, but
I didn't know.
Yeah, but
that high.
Yeah, no, I the sky is really the limit with that kid, the way I see him. But yeah, I just I think it was Chris Mason or somebody wrote an article today that Devers basically said that he acknowledged that he was hurt more than he should have been last year, and a lot of it was due to the weight, and he spent the entire offseason just getting in shape. And I guess people that have seen him like work out, he looks faster, he looks thinner, he looks more toned. So I'm really excited to see what Devers can do next year. I think he has all-star potential in 2019 with a chance of being a superstar by 2020.
Yeah. I would just caution that this is the time of year where we're going to hear that about everybody.
Yeah, but I want to fall in love. So
I'm with you.
Normally those warning lights would go off, but I'm just eschewing it and just going into Rafael Devers fever.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
What do you think along the lines of, I guess, guys who are trying to get in shape this offseason and get back to baseball-ready performance? Dustin Pedroia, what kind of role do you envision him playing with the 2019 Red Sox? Obviously, it's hard to predict injuries, but do you see him having a role or even an integral role with the team? I
mean, I think that's the plan. I mean, I don't think he's going to be like every day 155 games kind of guy, but I think they are hoping for 100 to 115 games with Brock Holt kind of filling in the gaps. Whether or not he can do that, I really don't know. It's hard to say. I was really confident at the start of the offseason, and as time's gone on, I'm kind of like, I kind of feel like he's going to get hurt again. It's just, he's at that age. Second base is a position where guys break down weirdly fast. So I think he'll be solid when he's healthy, like a league average bat, still above average with the glove, even if he's not his old self. It's just a matter of how much he's going to be able to play.
Where do you think Eduardo Nunez fits into that second base shuffle, or even at all?
A little bit, but I think he's going to get most of his time at third. He's just so clearly more comfortable at third base than second. I love Eduardo Nunez, but he might be the worst second baseman I've ever seen in my life.
Which is weird because, I mean, you would think it would be easier to play second base marginally than third base because you have a lot further way to throw. Yeah. I guess
but you
need
more range at second, and Nunez is like, as slow as like a dead horse. So
that's the thing. He's actually, I mean, speed was always his thing. That knee injury really kind of screwed him up last year, I think, all over the place. But yeah, I mean, he doesn't have the range. He doesn't really have the instincts to play there. Like he's quick on his feet. He can play third base because it's all reactions. But middle infield, you kind of need to like be more into the game a little bit. Oh, that's not fair. I shouldn't say he's not into the game, but
yeah, more
I get what you're saying.
situationally aware. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what not to compare myself to a major league player, but I was a
Go for it.
I couldn't play middle infield, but I had quick reactions. And I mean, I feel like that's what Nunez is. It's a different skill set.
Yeah, for sure. So I know this is also the time of year where we're embellishing, but it's also the time of the year where we're spending maybe not way too much, but we're spending a lot of time talking and hoping and romanticizing about prospects who could have an impact. Which guy do you see having a potential impact with the Red Sox in 2019?
I mean, there's a few. I would say the bullpen guys are the most obvious. Thurman, Feltman, Travis Lake, and Starwinton Hernandez are kind of the big three. I haven't seen Hernandez or Feltman. I should be able to see both of them in Portland this year, and I'm excited about that. Obviously, the scouting reports are off the charts.
Yeah,
I'm excited about them, but I'm trying to keep my expectations low. I feel like the idea that they're going to come up and be like these late inning arms right away, especially Hernandez with his control problems, it's kind of pie in the sky. Lakins is a guy I have seen a couple times, though mostly as a starter. I like him a lot. I don't think he's like an 8th or 9th inning guy, but I think at his peak he could kind of be a 7th inning guy, and this year he could come up relatively early and be like kind of like in the Workman and Hembry-ish kind of role. Just be solid. Other than that, I guess Chavis would be the other one. I'm a huge Michael Chavis guy. The bat, I'm 100% in on. It's just I don't know where he's going to play, but as long as he's in, I think he's going to hit wherever he is.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to say, where do you see him playing? Because it's a little clogged up in the infield. I mean, I could see potentially in 2020 as a first baseman when Moreland and Pierce, I believe, are both expired. Their contract expired. But yeah, second base is a possibility.
I don't think he's good enough to play anywhere full time.
Yeah,
I kind of would like to see him just be like. I don't think he's second base at all. I don't think he can play there. But I wouldn't mind to see him like first, third, left field, DH, just kind of rotate around, fill in for everybody. I think that would be the ideal role for him.
Yeah, makes sense. So I got one last question for you, and then maybe Dave will have one. So again, spring training, February 22nd is the first spring training organized game, and obviously we have pitchers and catchers reporting. I want to know what kind of battles you're interested in, even if they exist in general. What are you looking for in spring training?
I mean, the catchers obviously are going to be the big story. Who stays, who goes, assuming everybody stays healthy. I'm interested in all of these relievers they signed. The Zach Putnam, Domingo Tapia, Honore Mejia, Colton Brewer, who they traded for, Josh Taylor, Bobby Pointer, all these guys in the minors. The bullpen is an absolute mess, which everybody already knows. Somebody's going to really impress us in spring training, so I'm interested to see who that's going to be and whether or not they're going to totally disappoint us once the regular season starts, because that's usually how it goes.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, who do you think is the Sam Travis of this year?
Sam Travis is still around. Sam Travis is still Sam Travis of this year.
He'll be the Sam Travis of 2020.
I cannot wait for him to knock 20 homers in like a week.
Oh yeah, he lights it on fire every year.
Grapefruit League Babe Ruth.
And then he goes back to AAA. Yeah, and then he goes to AAA and his ground ball rate's like 60%. Oh yeah. Dave, you got any final questions?
Yeah, I've got one more. So Bobby Dahlbeck's one of the spring training invitees, non-roster guys. I just wanted to know your thoughts on him, and obviously he's not going to break camp by any means. He's hardly played in AA, but what do you feel of him as a prospect? Because he's like, his bat has all the talent in the world, but there's a lot of holes in his swing and his game that he still needs to work out. What do you think his future is? Yeah,
I'm not a huge Dahlbeck guy. I saw him a couple times towards the end of last year, and I'm a little worried that I just saw him on a couple bad days, and it's really clouding my judgment. But you threw him a breaking ball, and he had no idea what was going on. I saw a couple foul balls that he hit. I can see the power, and he's a big guy. He's really good defensively. I kind of feel like he gets a little underrated for that. Like that guy, if he comes up, he's moving Devers off third for sure. He's way better there, but he's carrying like a 30% strikeout rate in the minors.
Yeah, that's a bit over that.
Majors. So yeah, he's got. Chavis had that problem. He figured it out. So Dahlbeck definitely could. But the other thing I think we forget about is Dahlbeck is older than Chavis. The ceiling is there. I think he's more likely to hit his floor than his ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with that because I saw Dahlbeck a few times in Portland too, and I sort of had the reverse experience where I was at his first game where he hit 2 homers and I think his first 3 at bats. And like one of them like basically landed on 295, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy is legit. He's like the next Babe Ruth. He's Hank Aaron. He's Barry Bonds. He's everything you could ever hope for. But then I watched a few more games, and like you said, he can't hit a curveball to save his life. Strikeouts way too much, especially at the minor leagues. He probably is, in my opinion, a higher ceiling than Chaffetz, but I'm with you. I don't think he's going to quite reach that. So. One can hope, but yeah. I think in the Arizona League he did something like he hit 7 homers, but he struck out 44% of the time, which is the most Bobby Dahlbeck thing that's ever happened.
I was a little surprised he wasn't traded this year, to be honest. It kind of felt like a very Dombrowski move to trade him right now.
Yeah, I could see that. I think if like either he or Chaffetz get like really hot around the deadline, one of them's gone and the other's the next one up. So. Him and Nick Northcutt. I don't think Nick Northcutt's long for this world either.
They have a million third baseman right now.
Yeah. So we can send a few away and not feel too bad about it.
Yeah. But yeah, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. So I'm gonna drop your Twitter handle. Correct me if it's wrong, so people can follow you. It's at MRY Collins.
Matt R.Y. Collins, but
Matt R.Y. Collins.
I really don't talk about baseball on that account, so you don't have to follow me there. You can just follow the
Over the Monster. Yeah, you tweet on there a lot.
Yeah.
You tweet good stuff. We enjoy it.
Thank you.
If you're following us, you're probably following him, but if you're not, follow him. There's great content over there.
Exactly. If you read Red Sox Unfiltered, there's no way you don't read Over the Monster. All right, Matt, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one, man.
You too.
Thanks again for Matt Collins coming on this episode of the Red Sox Unfiltered podcast. He was great. As you said, he can follow him on Twitter at Over the Monster. You just type in Over the Monster in the search engine, and he tweets from there frequently, and they have a lot of good stuff. Go visit overthemonster.com. It is the best Red Sox site on the interwebs. It's better than Red Sox Unfiltered, which is our site. But yeah, you can follow us on Twitter at BoSox Unfiltered, and you can listen to us on this podcast on a variety of places, variety of media, including Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and iTunes. And if our affiliate, the Grueling Truth, posts us, you can hear us on more, like iHeartRadio. So check us out, guys. As always, thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week. Go Red Sox.
We really need to just do like a blooper reel.
I'm gonna create a blooper segment. Which is the...
Oh, god damn it. No, we're fine. We're fine.
Please tell me you started recording. We
Yes.
Get that on the blooper
Yes,
reel.
I did.
That's funny.
I'm cooking bacon.
Oh, wow, delicious.
You're making
Pre-interviews.
There goes again.
Oh, fucker. No, there isn't. Hold on.
Sir, could you please refrain from burning the building down while we're trying to podcast?
I'll be more considerate and not burn my house down.
Yeah, you probably don't want to do that either.
It's not
Yeah.
ideal.
It would be really rude of me.
I hurt a child.
Well, and so I'm
Can
trying
you
to,
have kids at a more convenient time, you know?
I mean, it's
Be a dad somewhere else.
at least we're not putting pots away at 9:56.
We're not putting pots away. We're not burning the house to the ground. There have been a few times, and I'm sad to say it's more than once, where I've been sick, and I thought to myself, well, alcohol, kills things. Can it kill germs faster than it can kill me? And the test was pretty conclusive that no, it can't.
Well, I'm glad you're okay now, I guess.
Have you guys perused my
Vodka does not get rid of the common cold.
No, I don't imagine it would.
I've heard blackberry brandy does pretty well with colds.
I have heard that too, but I went to school in Durham, New Hampshire, so we didn't exactly have that lying around.
Oh, okay, I feel you.
Yeah, it's like I had vodka or I had like natty ice. So
yeah, I would have chosen vodka of those two as well.
Yeah. I was basically raised on vodka when I was a sophomore. The kid that got me all my booze. No, when I was a sophomore, the kid that got me all my booze, like, he could only get vodka for some reason. So I'm like, well, it's this or nothing. So
is that carried over into your adult life?
Tastes like water to me.
Really? Good times.
He's the guy filling the water bottle.
Is that what you were really drinking when you said you were going to drink a glass of water?
No. That was really water.
Okay.
I've calmed down since my wild youth.